be really stressful and frustrating if your baby is crying and you just can't work out why. Does it physically hurt you inside to hear your baby cry? I know it does for me, and it's actually something that we're programmed to feel. But it doesn't help when our babies are crying and we're feeling this awful feeling and we're not quite sure how to help them. Well, today we're going to talk about lots of different strategies and practical things that you can do to help your crying baby. And we're also going to talk about why your baby might actually be crying, because finding out the root of the problem or the source of the crying can really help you to stop this happening again in the future. So of course, babies cry, we know that. Crying is their form of communication. They can't talk yet, of course, so crying is their way of telling us that they need something. However, contrary to common perceptions and something you may have heard before, crying, although it is a part of baby's development, it isn't necessarily a normal part of their development, and certainly not crying for prolonged periods of time throughout the day. There are, of course, exceptions to this, and I know when I talked about it recently on my Instagram account, there were some people that sent me messages saying that their baby cried for prolonged periods of time and they tried everything and looked at every different cause and they still couldn't find out what it was, and eventually the baby just stopped doing it as they matured and grew older. However, for those couple of people that sent me those messages, I got lots and lots of messages from people saying, I wish that I'd have known some of these strategies and some of these reasons why my baby was crying, because we were told that crying is normal, that it's developmentally appropriate by health visitors or GPs or whoever they had spoken to, and that actually stopped them or delayed them finding out the true cause of their baby's crying. Let's look at some of the reasons then why babies might cry. It could be because they are tired, because they are hungry, because they need their nappy changing. Those, of course, are the most common ones that we know about. It could be because they are too hot or too cold. They may be uncomfortable in the clothes that they're wearing, especially if they are tight or have tags or frilly bits that are making them feel itchy or just generally uncomfortable. It is also worth bearing in mind that there is something that's quite common in babies, and that is a ligature around either their fingers or most commonly their toes that can be caused by their clothing or by your hair, and that is where your hair wraps around the baby's toes or their fingers or a piece of cotton from their clothing, and that can actually cause the blood circulation to be cut off in your baby. Obviously really scary if you see it in your baby, and it can be quite easily avoided just by checking inside their socks or the ends of their onesies that you put them in that there aren't any loose cottons. Just making sure when you change their nappy that there isn't any of your loose hair in there around their toes or fingers. That is quite a common reason why babies cry, and if you have tried everything else, always worth checking their fingers and toes, because you never know, that could be the reason why. If your baby has wind, so they need burping or they have gas or constipation, they may cry excessively, and I have 2 videos that you need to watch to help you with that. I will link them in the description down below. They are effective burping methods and how to relieve your baby's constipation. Some really great tips in there for how to help with those. Linked to constipation, your baby could be in pain or just feeling generally unwell, and of course that's a really broad spectrum of potential symptoms, but you need to trust your instincts. Parents' instincts are so strong. You know your baby best. If they are acting out of the ordinary or crying in a way that's not normal for them, then it's really worth speaking to somebody sooner rather than later in case they do need some medical help. Pain can also be linked to things like teething, allergies, reflux, and I'm going to bring out a video very soon in the next week or so about signs for reflux and how to help your reflux baby, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you want to be able to watch that one. It may be because they are overstimulated, so there is a lot going on and they are outside of their normal routine or their normal environment. If you take them to a baby class or even to their grandparents' house, that can be all they need to make them feel really overstimulated. Or even if you have visitors come to your house to meet them for the first time, especially if baby's being passed around to different people. Along with that, if they are being separated from you, their main caregiver, then that may cause them to cry as well. They just want you and they need you. Or they may just want attention from you, so they want you to talk to them, sing to them, pay attention to them. The last thing is that your baby may have what is called colic, or you may have been told that your baby has colic. What is colic? Well, all colic really is excessive crying in babies without a specific reason or cause, except all of those things that we've just talked about. It could be any one of those things or multiple things that are the reason for your baby crying. Generally, there is always a cause. It's just sometimes quite hard to put your finger on it. If you want to try and work out what the cause is, then of course, observe your baby, look out for signs. You could track what you see by writing it down in your phone or on a piece of paper, just so that you can keep a note of if they're crying at maybe the same time each day in those witching hours. Is there something specific that's causing them to cry then? If they're crying straight after feeding maybe, or if they're crying before bedtime, there may be times and patterns that you see things happening, and that's probably linked to a certain reason. So beyond the obvious, feed your baby, change your baby, let your baby go to sleep, which are the things that we often hear linked to crying babies, what are some of the other practical strategies that you can use to stop your baby crying and give you some relief, and most importantly, of course, give them some relief? If you feel that your baby has got wind or constipation, then do check out those videos that I mentioned before, because relieving their wind or relieving their gas or constipation pains can really help to settle them down. You can also try skin to skin. It's something that we tend to know about, but it maybe isn't always an obvious thing that we suddenly think, oh yes, this will help solve the problem. So actually sometimes stripping your baby down to their nappy and taking your top off so that you are both skin to skin, and then you can put blankets over the top of you both if it's cold weather. That can really just help to regulate your baby's emotions, calm them down. They can feel your heartbeat, they can smell your smell really intently, they can feel the warmth of your skin, and that can just help to calm everything down and kind of reset them. So you might be finding that you think your baby is crying because they are hungry, for example, but they're so hungry and they're so worked up that actually they won't latch or they won't take the bottle. So doing that skin to skin can sometimes be what they need to just bring them down to an even level so that they can reset and you can try again. Of course, cuddling your baby is something that is really important, and that I hope that we all do naturally when our babies are crying. So cuddling your baby in lots of different soothing ways can really help. One of my favourites is to hold your baby really close to your ear, and then you can shush into their ear, not shh into their ear like this, because that's not very nice, but you can just rest your mouth near to their ear and shush them. You can pat them on the back, you can rock back and forth as you do so, and actually what really helps is to do something called the shush pat technique. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Just a short video today to explain to you and show you how to use the shush pat technique with your baby. Now I do have a separate video on this, which I'll link below, but I'll explain it quickly for you now. So the shush pat technique is a really great one because it actually has kind of scientific evidence behind why it works, which I love. The reason why we want to shush and pat our babies is that the shushing, mimics the sound that the babies hear when they're in the womb. So it mimics the sound of your blood rushing around your body. And then the pat, here on their bottom, mimics the feeling of your heartbeat inside you, because, of course, unless your baby is breech, when they are inside you, they are like this. Poor babies, it doesn't look very comfortable, does it? But of course it is for them. So babies, when they're in your womb, are like this. Their bottom is up here, near your heart. So they're feeling the rhythm of your heartbeat on their bottom when they're inside you. So shushing and patting their bottom really reminds them of being in utero. And again, that's something that helps to regulate their emotions, their nervous system, just brings them down into a state of calm. You can do that while your baby is swaddled, which sometimes they really like. Swaddling is definitely a preference from baby to baby, but sometimes babies really like to be swaddled while you're doing it. The other thing that you can do with swaddling to calm your crying baby is swaddle them and then hold them over your arm like this. Now you can do it like that, or you can do it like this so that they are laying on your arm this way, whichever they prefer. Obviously their arms will be in if they're swaddled. And again, you can shush them. Shh. you can pat them, you can rock them back and forth, you can rock them like this, and that often really helps, especially if your baby has got reflux or allergies or just general tummy problems. Being on their tummy is a really soothing and relieving position for them. So you can do that whether they're swaddled or not. Sometimes swaddling is nice for them, but if you don't have a swaddle or your baby doesn't like to be swaddled, you can just kind of hold their arms underneath them like this and then just rock them back and forth like that, making sure, of course, that you're supporting their head if they're a newborn. While your baby is in that close to you position, you can also have a go at singing a familiar song. So a song that your baby really enjoys hearing can be very soothing for them. And it doesn't have to be a nursery rhyme like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It can be your favourite song, something that you enjoy singing to your baby. As long as you sing it to them on a regular basis and try to link it to enjoyable moments like when you play together or when they're feeding, then they will start to associate that song with you, obviously, and with positive memories and positive moments, so that when you sing it to them, when they're in a crying state or in a frustrated state, it can really help to make them calm. And again, you can do that when you're really close to them, not directly into their ear, but just next to them. As you rock them from side to side, you can sing it just gently over and over again. And sometimes it can take a little while because, of course, if babies are quite upset, then sometimes they almost need to be able to hear you because they're crying so loudly that it can be tricky. So you can just try over and over again, just singing the calm song. Or if the singing isn't working, you can just talk to them. Talk to them over and over again. If you can't think of what to say, just narrate what you're doing, or you can say things like, "You're safe, I'm here, everything's okay, don't worry, mummy's here or daddy's here," or whoever you are to the baby, and that can really help to calm them down too. So what do you do if you've tried all of those things already and none of them are working? Well, how about you go outside? Going outside can really change the environment and give babies a kickstart into noticing their surroundings, realizing the environment's changed, and sometimes that can be enough to help them to calm down or to stop crying. Going outside doesn't have to mean going out for a walk, although of course that's a great thing to do, but you don't have to go outside for a walk. You could just go out into your garden and have a little walk around, or your outside space, or just open the door and stand near the fresh air. That can generally be enough just to calm babies down. If it's cold outside, then that's absolutely fine. As long as your baby is dressed appropriately, even if it's the middle of the night, no problem. Did you know in Scandinavia, they regularly put their babies to sleep outside in the very cold temperatures, and it's actually been proven to be very beneficial for babies' development. Changing environment doesn't have to mean going outside. It could just mean going into a different room. So if you are in their bedroom while you've been trying to calm them down, walk around the house, walk into a different room of the house, or if you are out and about, changing the room or the location that you're in can really help, especially if the reason why you feel your baby might be crying, or one of the reasons contributing to it, is that they are overstimulated by the environment. So too many lights, too many sounds, too many smells or people. If you're in a noisy room, try going somewhere quiet. If you're in a bright room, try to go somewhere dark, and that can help babies to calm down. Another way to change the environment is to go for a drive. I feel like this is a really traditional, old school, how to calm your crying baby strategy, but it does work. Take your baby out for a drive in the car, or send your partner, even better, out to drive around in the car with your baby for a little while and see if they will calm down. How about brown noise? Now, I talked about this in a recent video, and I also just talked about this in my in-person postnatal courses. If you want more information on that, then I'll leave that below. But it is so effective. Brown noise for the win, honestly. If you haven't tried it yet, please go and try it, because personally I find it so much better than white noise. Although white noise can be effective, it's a very harsh sound. Brown noise is much more mellow. There are hundreds of brown noise videos here on YouTube that you can easily access that don't have ads in the middle of them, which is probably quite important. Put the brown noise on and see if that will help to soothe your baby. If you don't have brown noise, you can use white noise, or you can even use natural white noise. If your house is situated next to a road, you can open the window and let the cars going past be the white noise. Or if you're next to a river, how lovely, then open the window and hear the water running. If you're not so lucky to live next to a river, how about turning on the taps or the shower? That creates really natural white noise for your baby as well. If you feel that your baby has wind and you need strategies to help them, then click this video here. If they have got constipation or tummy gas troubles, then click on this video here to help. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out the reflux video coming soon. I'll see you next time, everybody. Bye bye.